The following video is a review of a collectible with many sharp edges and small parts. The manufacturer's recommended age is 17 and older. Thus, this review is intended for adult collectors only. All appropriate safety measures should be taken when handling this product. What's up, Lantern fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, the co-host of the Emerald Echo podcast. Here with a look at the Neca 2019 New York Comic Con exclusive action figure 2-pack of the Sinestro Corps Predator and Green Lantern. Let's start with a look at the packaging. We see the Green Lantern and Predator symbols on the front. There's not much on the top. Product information on the bottom. Both sides of the box are solid black. And the back of the package is also solid black. The front of this box has a flap that opens to reveal the exclusive figures within. The figures and accessories are bound to the inner plastic. All of the accessories as well as the complete figures are visible through the front window. The Green Lantern figure has alternate head sculpts of Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and the Predator figure features an unmasked alternate head sculpt. And with all that being said, now it's time to bust these figures out of the package and see what's inside. And here we see the Sinestro Corps Predator wielding the Ring of Fear and many construct weapons. So let's have a closer look at the loose details now. Let's have a look at accessories now. And here we see the glaive. And I like this translucent plastic. Lots of excellent sculpting here. Very sharp on the end. Be careful there. Here we see a construct sword. And this fits very well into one of the alternate gripping hands. Once again, there's plenty of excellent sculpting here. Here is the shuriken, and there's lots of magnificent sculpting on this as well, although it does feel a little fragile. It's not as pliable as I thought it would be, so be careful there. And here is the alternate head sculpt. And here are the predlocks, aka the quills, and these are a rubbery type material. Very well done. And the skin looks very realistic on the unmasked head sculpt. Here is the unmasked head sculpt on the figure. And it moves well. The mandibles are really sharp and threatening looking, so I really appreciate that. Let's have a look at the lower body now. And I really appreciate all of the sculpting on the armor. You can see that a dark wash has been applied to it, so it looks very realistic. The skin looks good all the way through the figure. I like these segmented pieces. There's some really intricate paintwork here on the loincloth. The look of the Predator armor has been captured very well here. There's multiple points of articulation in the plasma cannon. And that does give you posing options, so I'm very appreciative of that. The Sinestro Corps chest symbol is spot on. The entire thing is sculpted and the paint applications are very exact. In terms of articulation, the figure has good movement back and forth here at the ankle. There is some pivoting. There's double jointed knees, and if you want to get the figure into a deep running pose, you do have that option. The armor hinders the hip articulation somewhat out to the side, although the figure can kick forward very well. I'm very appreciative of that level of articulation, and you can also get the figure to step back, so that is appreciated as well. The waist pivots back and forth. There's an upper torso swivel, and that gives you posing options. The upper torso armor inhibits the shoulder movement somewhat, as you can see. Be very careful, don't try to force that. There is good movement at the wrists, as well as the double jointed elbows. You can see the movement there. You can get the arms to move outward this wide. So I like that pose a lot. In terms of the neck joint, you can get the head to move side to side. He can look up that much. He can look down that much. And there is a moderate amount of head tilting. Here's a close-up of the head sculpt with the biomask. The silver paint looks superb. Much like the other head sculpt, the quills have been executed very well. As a longtime fan of both Predator and Green Lantern, I am just so excited to have this figure in my collection. And here's a close-up of the Sinestro Corps ring. This has been executed very well. And the grip on the construct sword is very secure. So there's a first time for everything, and unfortunately it was during this review. As soon as I tried to pose this figure, the lower leg snapped off immediately, so I'm very disappointed with Neca. I'm not sure if I will be able to repair that figure or not. However, I did already own a loose NECA Green Lantern figure, and I'll be using that figure to finish this review. How you feel about this figure's aesthetics may be determined by what you're looking for in a figure. This is an especially muscular version of John Stewart / Hal Jordan. The symbol is just paint, and I'm a little disappointed there after seeing how well the Sinestro Corps symbol was done on the Predator figure. You can see excellent sculpting here in the abdominals, as well as back here in the latissimus dorsi. Just a massive figure. There's excellent sculpting in the rib cage and the pectorals. Down here at the bottom part of the hip area, there's also wrinkles sculpted into the costume. And there's been a dark wash applied to the green sections, and that makes this figure even more defined. Here's a close-up of the Hal Jordan head sculpt. And the sculpting on this is extremely well done. You can see all of the individual strands of hair. The paint applications are nice and tight, especially on the teeth and the edges of the mask. And the eyes are a solid white. The Hal Jordan head sculpt is definitely an older version of Hal, and John Stewart even more so. This version of John looks like he's in his 50s. There's lots of wrinkles on the brow and along the cheekbones. With that being said, I think it's also one of the most realistic John head sculpts I've ever seen. You can see just how realistic the skin and the hair look, and the expression is one of extreme intensity. Here's a look at the personal power battery, and this is another weakness of this figure. The handle is very flimsy, as you can see, so I'm really not a fan of how that was done. The battery is undersized, and instead of translucent plastic in the middle to convey the energy within, NECA went with white paint, and I'm really not a fan of how that looks. And some of the white paint from the glove just chipped off onto my fingers, so I certainly won't be handling this figure very often once I finish this review. Here is the basic ring hand, and I believe there are more positives than negatives here when it comes to the ring. It is the proper size. The paint applications are good. They're not perfect on the one that I have. Now this is a small area, so it's shaped into a rough Green Lantern symbol. It could have been better, but at least it's not just a round dot of green. Now once I put this fist under magnification, I do have a problem with just how rough the fingers look. Perhaps NECA thought this was a better approach for details around the knuckle, but as I looked at this, I thought that this looks unfinished, so I really think they could have done a better job here. This figure comes with 3 different ring effects, and I'm going to put these on the figure now. Here is a closer look at the smallest of the three effects. So here is the starburst pattern. I just recently reviewed the DC Icons John Stewart, and it has a similar effect. But that's done very well. I do like this translucent plastic. And this is my favorite of the three. This is unique among other Green Lantern accessories that I've seen. This ring blast effect. And it just looks so cool. I wish that more figure lines came with accessories like this, because this is a stroke of genius. In terms of articulation, there's a mid-foot hinge. There's a swivel at the top of each boot. There are double jointed knees, but obviously I'm going to be very careful here. And that feels really tight. And after what just happened, I certainly don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on this figure. So I had to work with the figure quite a bit to get it to loosen up enough to do a front kicking motion. But I was able to eventually get the leg to move forward that far. There's no quadriceps swivel, and I really would have appreciated those. You can articulate the legs out to the sides this much, so that is adequate, but it could have been better, especially for an exclusive figure. The figure does step back a little bit, although I would have preferred more in that area. The waist pivots back and forth. We get an upper torso crunch, although mine is very tight, and I certainly don't want to force it. So I got him to rock back enough to get into a flying pose. The wrists rotate well, as you can see demonstrated here. The figure has a bicep swivel, and that gives you posing options. The shoulder joints allow you to move the arms up from the sides this much. And, oh man, I just noticed some paint flaking off. Wow. I've heard about Neca's QC issues before, but I'm getting to see them firsthand right now. In terms of the neck joint, the figure's head does move easily side to side. He can look up that much, he can look down, and there is a considerable amount of head tilting. And I should also mention that you can get the arms to do a 360 at the shoulder joint. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for some articulation shots, and also remember to catch me on the Emerald Echo podcast, which is part of Multiverse Musings, the vidcast, and that's available right here on YouTube. And I'll be back with more Green Lantern-related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.